Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Alaya as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Alaya, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
Have her back with us because I wasn't able to connect with her. So she did a mad scrambling of getting her notes and going down a flight of stairs, and she's really, really good sport. And thank universe, please, thank you for letting this connection happen. Because one of her books, The Children of the Fifth World, A Guide to the Coming Changes in the Human Consciousness. This is really, as we all are evolving and we're learning so much, this book is so trailblazing. I'm trying to think of, it's ahead of its time. And really, whether you're young, soon to be parents, have your own children, or even grandparents, you need to be aware of this information. And I'm not going to waste any more time. Thank you, P.M.H. Thank you, thank you, for being on here with us.
Well, thank you, God. Just thank you, God, the Great Spirit. I mean, gee.
Yeah,
I'm in my kitchen ready to be on the radio and found out that didn't work. So I had to transfer everything down to my office in the basement. So I've got just papers scattered everywhere, but that's okay. It's a good world.
It was getting a little panicky there for a while.
But it's good because now we can just really get busy.
Oh, man. This book, The New Children, for the past few years, we've been hearing about the indigo children, the crystal children, the rainbow crystal children. And now we're lumping them all up into the new children.
Yeah, just call them the new kids.
And what's so important is they're coming in to change the world, but they're also coming in with challenges. And this is, where you'll be able to discuss a little bit and give us some ideas. So who are these children? We had waves of these the children. Are we part of these children from other generations?
Okay, let's talk about evolution, because this really is what we're talking about. And we're talking about the human family as it evolves. Now, certainly we can go back to our lore masters and some of our great psychics and wisdom keepers. And they say, well, humankind started coming into the earth plane billions of years ago, one group says. Another group says millions of years ago. But however long you want to go back, what you begin to get the sense of, and especially with indigenous tribes anywhere on the planet, they all speak of the same thing, that the humankind came in waves or groups, or what some people call root races. When we're talking about root, it's R-O-O-T, the root race. And when we're talking about root races, we're talking about core DNA patterning. So it's core DNA. And that has gone through large sweeps in our history on this planet. And as near as we can tell, we're in the fifth root race, the fifth sweep. But I honestly feel that the fifth group has been here for a little while. What we're seeing now is the ascendancy of the fifth. In other words, it's really coming in to focus very, very strongly before we move into what is called the sixth root race. I think we've got hundreds of years yet before we get there, although there's some of them here now. And this is what they've been talking about, they meaning other authors, channelers, psychics. They've been talking about, like you said, the indigos, the crystals, the star seeds, the psychic kids, rainbow kids, and so forth and so on. What I tell everybody is toss all of the labels. I bless those people that first let us know what was happening. That's good. But if you take those labels and keep them, then you wind up screwing up the kids. It's a mess with the parents. It's a mess with the educators. It just doesn't work. So if you toss all those labels, and those labels put children into exclusive clubs of specialness, get them out of there. These kids are inclusive, not exclusive. So if you take all the characteristics that the labels supposedly told us about, you take all those characteristics, bunch them together, and then you have the new kids. So let's keep them inclusive, not exclusive. Let's look at this whole bunch of kids. And again, what we're talking about is a particular DNA group or patterning. And it's a very advanced patterning from what we've seen in the main across the planet. But I want to be clear here when we're talking about advancements in human evolution. This particular group that we have now, and I'll explain them more in just a little bit. They actually started coming in about the time of Jesus. There wasn't that many, but there was a few. Every Renaissance the world has ever known has been full of them. Well, who started the Renaissance anyway? It was these advanced thinkers and intuitive, creative, innovators. They're the ones who did it. Mm-hmm. They started coming in very large numbers in the 1800s. By 1840, we started seeing really large clusters coming in. If you look back to about 1840, especially in our country, that's when we started getting the new thought people. Emerson, Thoreau, Phineas Quimby, on and on and on, new thought people. And the new thought bunch absolutely declared that we have the right to contact God directly. We do not have to go through an emissary. We have the right to heal ourselves and others. We don't have to go to a doctor if we don't want to. So this is the new thought people coming in with that kind of clarity. And they started to kind of fade out in the 20s and 30s. And they started coming back in larger numbers in the 60s. The age of Aquarius, and, we have all the kids, in Woodstock. That's when these people started, the fifth root race started coming back in large numbers. But I'm going to submit to you and all the listening audience that we really didn't see the really huge, massive numbers until about 1982. So from 1982 on, we now see this patterning in every country across the globe. It's now in every culture, every ethnicity, every country, it's everywhere. So this is basically what we're now seeing, is this bunch of kids coming in. So what are we talking about with these bunch of kids? Well, I'd like to just, and we may be talking about ourselves here, you realize, or our grandma and our grandpa, or our aunt and uncle, because we've been coming in for quite a while. So I want to talk basically now on the plus side, that is the positives, and then I want to talk about the minus, which is the negatives. they have their problems too, just like anybody and everybody else. Excuse me. On the plus side, these people are intelligent, even if they're flunking in school and can't spell. Forget about that. These kids are intelligent. About one third of them are geniuses, even if learning disabled. And I want to hang there for just a little bit, and clarify that. When I'm talking genius, I'm talking 150 to 160 without genetic markers to account for it. Those are scores, 150 to 160, standard IQ tests. These are kids coming in the 130s, the 140s, the 150s, the 160s, and so forth, and so on. What alerted me to these kids was all the work I did with near-death kids. We talked about that last week. And while I was working on the near-death kids, I began to notice, whoops, wait a minute here. Normal, ordinary kids, born the normal, ordinary way, are beginning to exhibit the same characteristics of these children who've gone through a near-death experience. I'll let you, that's not possible. It's just not possible. Mm-hmm. So that's why I did this separate research. Just became very, very excited because I began to realize, oh, I'm one of them. So are you. So was my grandfather. We've been coming in for a while, but now it's absolutely a flood tide. The gates are open. There are two genes that build a better brain. And now clearly 2/3 of those genes, two-thirds of at least one of those genes are just everywhere. 1/3 have both the genes, not just one, but both of them. And that's why we have these super intelligent kids. In art, in music, in science, they're just off the wall. These kids are very music oriented and very rhythmic. Of course, most kids are, but
feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
The name is Bond. James Bond.
No, the name is Joe. The Joe Show. And we are returning back for our 9th season here on OMTimes Radio. So tune in every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on OMTimes.com/mobile. You can take us wherever you go. Yeah!
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network, bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
You want to continue your thought on the plus and minuses, and you're really bringing everything into good perspective. Everybody's starting to realize everything is not so separate. Oh, these new kids coming in. No, this has been happening for a while, and we're actually part of this whole evolutionary process. At one point, we were the new kids.
Yes, yes. And now we've got an advancement. And these kids truly are very spiritually minded. They're very intuitive. They're psychic. Many of them remember past lives. This is normal for them. They're very excellent at math. Don't let them fool you about this. They're natural born healers. They're ready to go entrepreneurs. They're irreverent. They have quirky ideas and unique beliefs. They're visionary problem solvers. They're very knowing. They're groupies who move as if part of a collective. They often attend night school in addition to dreaming. Now, let me just very quickly give you an example of what I mean by night school. And this is very common with these new kids. I was in a shopping mall. I was walking down the halls, and there was this woman next to me that had a little boy. And way down the hall was a mom and dad, and they had their little boy. I guess the boys were maybe about 6 years old, maybe. And the boy next to me recognizes the other little boy, calls him by name, runs over to the other little boy. Of course, they're running together. They meet in the middle, and they're just jabbering all about school, about night school, and their assignments, and the assignment that they got. And they were really talking it out. So I talked to all the adults. The woman next to me was local. The mom and dad that were down the hall, they were just traveling through. They had never been in that area before. So these two boys could not have recognized each other. They could not have known each other's name. They could not have anything to do with a night school or getting the same assignments, but they did. This is what's happening all over the world. Many of our children go to school at night, and they're going to school on other realms, in other dimensions, and they get assignments. So this is very common with the new kids. They're abstracting at very young ages. When I'm talking about abstracting, many of them have a library card at maybe 2.5 or 3. Many of them speak other languages right away, or they learn them very quickly. They know how to see through things and arrive at answers without any idea of clues or how to do it. They've just got it. They jump there, they've got it. They're not sequential learners. They're abstractors. They very much believe in the fusion of sexes and gender mixing. And you're going to see that. We're already seeing that headlines everywhere across our nation, across the world. The new kids are bringing it in. They're very much, most of them are bisexual, or they look at sex very, very differently. Mm-hmm. They're multi-channelers, they're multi-sensory, and they live in a multiverse. Now, if we're going to look at the negative side, or what I call the minus side, they're impulsive, they're impatient, they're the quick click kids. They feel entitled. Many of them are overconfident. There's an underlying anger with these kids because they have very little tolerance for lies or being manipulated. That's the two things they can't handle. Don't lie to these kids, and don't try to manipulate them. Explain things, but don't lie to them. They prefer the astral and synthetic worlds. Hey, that's a problem in the sense that you lose language that way. You lose the ability to recognize features, movements, tone of voice, emotions. So they need a mentor here to help them with that. These kids are highly sensitive to drugs and to snack foods. So be real careful there. They're highly sensitive to toxic, incoherent electronic energy. So, hey, we're talking iPhones, iPads, computers. You know, the ones that sort of invented computers and this kind of thing, in other words, this Silicon Valley bunch, do not start their children on computers till they're at least 8 years old, because they don't want to interfere with brain patterning. But yet they sell us on the idea of starting your kids when they're like a year and a half or two. Most schools start teaching children how to use computers when they're in nursery school, when they're in kindergarten, when they're in the first grade. So we're doing things that the inventors of this world won't let their own kids do. So warning, warning, warning here. It's fine to be on computers if you just be careful and, not let them, today the average child spends 10 hours a day in front of a screen device. I'm sorry, folks, that's ruining the emotional system, the nervous system, brain power. So let's just cut it down a little bit. It's fine to have them on there, but cut it down a little bit. Get them into the nature world, getting into, doing chores for the family. They've got to do other things as well. Our children do not assimilate nutrition well. I don't care, Grandma Alaya, if it's organic food. They don't assimilate foods well. So if you have a way to test them, please do. And you'll be very surprised. A lot of kids can't handle milk. A lot of kids can't handle soy. You'll be surprised at what these kids can't handle. And it's different for different ones. These children have no concept of authority. They need mentors, not bosses. They appear wiser than they are. Self-deception is an issue. They're very sensitive to trickster energy, possession, and psychic attachments. So these kids really need training in the psychic skills, the dark skills, how to recognize what's going on, how to make good choices. And right now, I want to give a website address. It's the website address for Nancy Baumgarten. She runs psykids.org. So it's www.psykids.org. She runs the Profound Awareness Institute. I've never found anybody yet that can teach psychic ability, intuitive ability, knowing how to handle higher states of learning, how to handle higher knowledge. I've never found anybody yet better than she is. She's got the curriculum. Get a hold of this woman. She lives in North Carolina. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. But anyone who can teach and help our children recognize differences and also teach them how to respect and listen to their intuition. If their intuition says don't cross the street, then don't cross the street. Listen. These children expect things to come to them. They do not understand the effort needed to process or refine. To them, everything ought to be free. It ought to be right now. They do not recognize boundaries, even that of skin. Their greatest fear, listen to this, their greatest fear is silence. These children don't know how to handle silence. So I'm telling everybody, get these kids out in nature. They absolutely have to get out in nature. And another thing I want to say right now is the difference between imagination and imaginal. Adults need this too. Imagination. This is something that you create and you know you created it. But the imaginal worlds are pre-existent. They're the worlds that have existed for God only knows how long. They can come to you. You don't necessarily have to go to them unless you know how to go to them. A good shaman knows how to reach the imaginal realms. Again, they're pre-existent. They're often filled with the older orders of ensoulment. There are many different orders besides the human order. So learn about that it does exist, and that learn the difference between imaginal, which is what shamans understand, and imagination. So you get into nature then. You can then learn to listen and hear and respond to the imaginal worlds around you and the living worlds around you. Trees, rocks, everything has a voice, and these kids are learning this, but they're having a really rough time, and what's going to tip them is sex, drugs, and alcohol. I'm just putting it right out there. The main sex device today is a cell phone. Sexting, this kind of thing. Kids there was over 100 kids in the state of Virginia, which is where I live, who were arrested for pornography. But by the way, putting your private parts or your nudity on a cell phone and sending it to someone is pornography. It is against the law.
Yeah, they don't realize this. Yeah, we got that break again.
Yeah. We've got a commercial coming on.
Yeah, the music's coming.
Yeah. I'm getting alert to this now.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello! Join us, Lisa Berry and Michelle Carter, every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the Mindset Makeover, What's Possible. Get ready to become present, clear, and unstuck, and start living fully, led by your heart. While you listen and feel this transformation through vibration of word, sound, and song, you'll open up to what's possible and experience your shift.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back and we're going the halfway mark already. All this information is so important for adults, young people. It covers so many subjects. So what I'd like for you to address right now is the subjects of what they put labels on: mental challenges, autism, attention deficit.
Right. Yes. I very much I'm right on with you because I spread that out during the commercial. So we're in sync here, dear. We know now that autistic kids, what is it, 1 in every 45, 50 births or something like that are coming in as autistic. We've got ADHD, Asperger's syndrome, so on and so forth. All of those people, see, how am I going to put this into words? First of all, I want to say that, especially with autism, if you have the child take the Raven's test instead of the Wishler test, we're talking IQ here. And the Wishler test is your standard IQ. It tests for what you have learned, what they call crystallized thinking. The Raven's test tests fluid thinking, what you can learn. So if you have your child, if you have any kind of so-called learning disorder, have him take the Raven's test, and you can ask for that. Ask for the Raven's test. We're finding that those kids who take the Raven's test that were supposedly disordered are testing out 1/3 geniuses, just like the other kids who take the Wishler test. 1/3 geniuses, between 150 to 160, brilliant geniuses. They're just coming in with a different language, but the mind is out there. It's really functioning. If you want to learn how to work with so-called learning disabled children, please take down this book. It is called Kids Beyond Limits. That's the main name. The secondary name is so long, I won't even bother to give it to you. It's Kids Beyond Limits. It's by Anat Banel. Anat is A-N-A-T. Last name B as in boy, A-N-I-E-L. It is a Peregrine book. It came out in 2012. It's still gangbusters. She has found natural ways of being able to work with these kids and bring them out of these disordered conditions. And I think her recovery rate is something like 80%. It's huge. So you really, really, really want to get Kids Beyond Limits and then contact anyone who's been trained in her methods. And that will make a big difference. And then, as a caution to those parents who've had to put their kids on Ritalin or something like that because the school demanded it, here's another book you need to read. It's called Dosed. That's the title, Dosed, The Medication Generation Grows Up. And it was written by Caitlin Bell Barnett. She was one of these kids who had to take Ritalin in school and all this kind of stuff. And what she found out, we're now finding out all over, that children, male or female, that are in school taking these drugs year after year after year, when they're adults, they don't know what love is. Did you hear me say that?
Yeah, that's really scary.
They don't know what love, they don't know how to respond to love. And they have to learn that. So this is very, very serious. If there's a way that you can work with your kids, get them involved in a different kind of training rather than drugs, or get them into homeopathy. There are various types of homeopathic remedies that work. There's various types of herbs that will work. So contact these doctors or these physicians or these healers that know about that, and that can help too. Brain gym, which is a name of another type of training and skill enhancement classes that you can get your children involved in. Brain gym. That's also another way of working with this in the natural way. But you know, school itself is changing all over. And a lot of the schools now are going to dual language training, starting the kids out in nursery school. Half a day they speak a certain language, let's say it's Chinese. The other half, they speak English. They do it year after year after year. They maintain that. And by doing that, maintaining the dual language training year after year, the child grows up with two natural languages, native language, native tongues. But this is the exciting thing. But doing that opens up the executive functions of the brain. You know, they come back, they learn and grow and are able to develop this incredible mind that can work as an executive just because they did the dual language training. And philosophy. Oh, gee, everybody start philosophy in the 3rd grade. I would like to see it started in the 1st grade, but start it by the 3rd grade. If you do, then the children, by discussing what they see around them, what's on television, what's in their classroom, what's down their block, when they're able to examine this in a different way, it then prevents them from being numbed out by violence. I mean, who would have thought of that? Teach philosophy. It helps to prevent the children being numbed out by violence. Let me just briefly give you some examples of what our new kids are doing. Here we have a 19-year-old girl. Get that, girl, 19 years old, lives in Egypt, and she's a Muslim who has invented a newer, cheaper, virtually fuelless way to lift conventional rocketry. A newer, cheaper, virtually fuelless way to send off rockets. 19 years old, girl, Egypt, Muslim. Now we've got a 15-year-old boy this is in the United States, who developed a cheap, reliable test for early stage pancreatic cancer. He could not get any, he went through 200 labs trying to test out his theory, his work. He needed to get into a laboratory and work with lab equipment. This is a 15-year-old kid. And before he let one do it, before one lab let him in, and it's now medically used. It's now used medically. I mean, yeah. And this is what our new kids are doing. They're so out there. But let me tell you, let me get you prepared here. Because I want to talk about thirds. You know, we know that 1/3 have a better brain. We know that 1/3 are scoring genius. We know that 1/3 of our autistic kids who take the Ravens test are testing out genius. We know that about 2/3 of the kids with autism are male. We know that about 1/3 are female. We know that about 2/3 of the kids with dyslexia are female. About 1/3 are male. Hear these thirds? About 1/3 have no sense of living a full life, and they're okay with that. They don't have to live a full life. About 2/3 have no intention of ever marrying, going to college, or being parents. About 1/3 are profoundly gifted. 1/3 are very intelligent, intuitive, creative, and 1/3 are amoral, sociopaths, or too violent to handle. We're getting everything coming in thirds or 2/3. It's still the family of thirds. It's been doing that now for almost 2 decades. We're getting these numbers. It's still close to thirds. Maybe not always exactly thirds, but it's very, very close. And I'm looking at that and I'm saying, now, wait a minute here. Whoa, wait a minute here. I'm a good researcher. This is not possible, but it's happening. Now, step back and realize that divisions of thirds and triangles are the baseline of universal order. They strengthen. When we're talking about the Holy Trinity, that's in thirds. The third spiritual law is karma. The third spiritual tradition is the golden rule. Thirds are the rhythmic proportions. In the golden mean, it's nature's preference for harmony, balance, and beauty. So we're looking at all these thirds, and I'm going back. I'm stepping back, and I'm saying, wait a minute here. There has to be a plan. There's got to be some kind of an intelligence in back of this. And, really, there is a universal plan of some kind. I'm looking at all these thirds and I'm saying, something else is going on besides just normal birth and normal evolution. We've got a plan that is going on here. Yeah, I hear the music.
It's probably coming up. No, I don't know whether it's the music or my clock.
Oh, it's the music from your clock? Oh,
that means
I can keep going then? I can keep going? Yeah.
Now the music.
The future of internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
in the last 15 minutes.
Oh,
Nuts.
right. Oh, I'm always ready to go.
The whole thing is what I find so important. I'm so glad this show managed to happen. Was that as adults, we need to start being cognizant of this information and helping the children. It's no longer, well, this is, we got the kids, we're going to raise them the old way, blah, blah, blah. Because you had mentioned something, whether it's in one of your talks or the book, that it's almost scary if we, even with these labels, autism, etc., if we don't help the children, return back to their possible potential naturally, in 20 years, our world is going to be filled with adults that can't feel, can't talk, express themselves. And this is scary. So this is why this is important scary. Now.
It is scary. And, this business about pornography on the internet. And we're just now finding out how that's affecting our children. We've got 10-year-olds that are getting on these porn sites and masturbating, especially the boys. And there's been research now following them up to teenage years, early adult years. And by that time, they can no longer have relationships with another human being. They can only do it digitally. They can only do it with on the internet. Because they don't know how to relate to a human body. They don't know how to relate to actual skin in front of them, and feelings and emotions and language and, a face. They don't know how to relate to that. And so there's now books coming out about that, about the dangers of masturbating with, porn sites. So we really have to pay attention here. And I'm very hopeful that books like mine, Children of the Fifth World, that book, believe it or not, has not sold well. It's only sold a little over 2,000 copies. Can you believe that?
No,
people instead are buying nothing but the labeled books. That is to say, indigo, crystal, starseed. They're buying those, which is fine, but they're not buying real. They're not buying the overview and what we're finding out that all of this is leading to. And so a book like Children of the Fifth World really needs some extra help here. And I would like to recommend that people get on my website, www.P.M.H@water.com. I have a free monthly newsletter. So just on the homepage, click on news right away. It will go into newsletter, and then subscribe. There is archives that are there that you can read over that. But certainly do as much as you can to get this information out, because there's just incredible things that we now know that we're now finding that we really, really would be wise to know about. One of the fun things I want to mention right away, and then we can get in maybe a little bit more serious, but one of the fun things is this new haplotype research. Haplotype are blood types. Mm-hmm. And so that, they're doing all the haplotypes, and they're finding out, where you came from and what your people really are. And they're finding out that a lot of our African-American people in the United States, for instance, are European. They don't go back to Africa at all. And so, or maybe just a little bit. And a lot of the people from Alaska really go back to France. The haplotype research is just really opening people's eyes. So they can trace all the different blood types except one. There's one. There's one they can't trace. It's called the X haplotype. And they can't find a beginning. There's no, it did not originate on Earth. It did not originate on Earth.
Wow.
And the X haplotype are mostly the Basque people, the Berbers, the Royal Algonquins. You get a hold of all these people that have the X haplotype, and Edgar Cayce, the great psychic, pointed to all of these people as being immigrants or from Atlantis. So, you get into this solid research, and I think it's more exciting even than channeling. I mean, you're getting into real stuff. But if we want to sort of settle down here a little bit and look at what the new kids are really here for, at least I believe, because this is what I've seen in the research again and again and again. They're here to return us to civil speech and civil behavior. They're here to return us to a common language. They're here to help us learn from history, believe it or not. They're here to learn how to not give their brain away to drugs. They're here to learn how to protect themselves from the television industry, from corporations that believe in high stress. They're here to slow this down. They're here to really learn more about literature, to connect more with spirituality and meditation. They're here to improve relationships with people because they're natural born healers. They're here to teach us how to enter into committed partnerships and stay there. They're here to help us learn deep ecology, go deeper into the environment. They're here to help us discover the power of water. We live on a water planet, yet only 1% of our water is drinkable. They're here to invent, and pass it on. They're here to teach us how to become planetary citizens. They're just here to open up our minds and our world to a much greater and more vibrant world. If you're going to go back to some of the histories and the oral histories, they say that with each age, with each of these big turns of the root races, the models change. That is to say, that who represents the Adam, who represents the Noah, who represents the Messiah. All the models change with each root race. And I would offer then that our Adam with this root race is Gandhi. He teaches us democracy, independence, nonviolence, peaceful protest. Our Adam then is Gandhi. Our Noah, I believe, is Nelson Mandela. He teaches us forgiveness and reconciliation. I do not believe that the new model for a Messiah has come yet. I know a lot of people will argue with me on that, but I don't recognize any of their entries as being, the real model for Mandela. So, we're really, these new kids want meaning. They want, they want something higher and better and meaning, and they're willing to die for it. That's why so many of them are being lapped up and kidnapped by ISIS. You know, the ISIS commercials are all meaning based. We're here to save the world and bring back, you know, this great new world for our people. And you know, these new kids will flock to anything that is meaning based. Unfortunately, most parents, most people haven't caught on to that yet. You know, they're wondering, well, why are our kids being lapped up and going to these incredible butchers? All they are is, you know, jinn. That's all. They have nothing to do with Islam. Absolutely nothing. All of their codes, their flags, everything is all pure jinn. And jinn is the Middle Eastern version of Satan. It's just pure jinn. But this idea of being a savior or helping the world be better or bringing meaning back to life, that's the big push of these kids. Let's take that. Let's help them. Let's help them develop that in a good way, a right way.
Here we are again. This went too fast, but this is great. I'm going to do what I can to get your book out there.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
The adults, you know, we need to take our responsibility to help these kids.
Yeah.
So thank you for putting it out there, and hope to get you back on another day. Okay?
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks so much.